Alright, so in this video I will just be talking about Doom 3 in the BFG Edition, why I think the original vision is slowly being lost to time, mainly on consoles. BFG Edition was originally created for the consoles, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and now they're ported to the newest generations of hardware. And the original version, even on PC, gets overlooked a lot for the BFG Edition, so in this video I will highlight a lot of the problems that are presented in this port. Alright, now, so moving on to Doom 3. Doom 3 is easily where they have done close to the most amount of damage with this insulting BFG Edition. Yes, they even had the nerve to name it after the best gun in any FPS, and that is just beyond insulting. And now, I don't even need to go into Doom 3 and how big of a game it was in 2004 and how it changed the Doom formula, how it was all sort of divisive, but still well received and all that. This ain't a review of Doom 3, of course. If you want that, then of course, just go watch a different video. And of course, in this version of Doom 3, yeah, the cheats no longer work. They're all gone, and it's only if you own it on Steam and you enter a certain Steam launch command that you can get the cheats back. But not everyone's gonna know this, really, and they're just immediately gonna assume the dev console is straight up gone, and on console, you can't cheat in Doom 3 like you can in the originals. Like, come on, man. Now, starting this off, to see how worse off the new Doom 3 port is / the BFG Edition and console ports and Game Pass, of course, you don't have to look any further than the intro cinematic. Of course, I could explain to you why it's worse than the original, but it's easier just to show it. So, here's Doom 3's original intro.
The Union Aerospace Corporation is the largest corporate entity in existence. Originally focused on weapon and defense contracts, new ventures have expanded into biological research, space exploration, and other scientific endeavors. With unlimited funds and the ability to engage in research outside of moral and legal obligations, the UAC controls the most advanced technology ever conceived.
And now the new / BFG version.
Corporation is the largest corporate entity in existence. Originally focused on weapon and defense contracts, new ventures have expanded into biological research, space exploration, and other scientific endeavors. With unlimited funds and the ability to engage in research outside of moral and legal obligations, the UAC controls the most advanced technology ever conceived.
In case you didn't see the difference, there is no background music playing this time, and the text has clearly been added in on top of the same old pre-rendered animation, making a stark contrast between it and the background. On the subject of cutscenes / cinematics, now they made it so you can't skip them. Any of them. Now, of course, this isn't a huge problem if it's your first time playing the game, but it definitely is annoying if you are replaying through the game, which people, of course, would be doing, as there is at least 25 plus achievements they added in. And this also affects the expansions, Resurrection of Evil, and the Lost Mission. As far as visuals are concerned, it looks about on par with the original. However, what I did notice is that some of the areas look a lot brighter, and the overall image quality is a lot softer than the original. There's also been some weird and pointless modifications to weapons as well. Like, for instance, weapons no longer create muzzle flashes that light up your surroundings. The pistol reloading sound effect has also changed. The shotgun also now sounds completely different too. Have a listen. Now, the shotgun sound effect being changed isn't all that bad. However, the change they did make with it kind of doesn't work in the more horror action-driven tone of the game, and making it louder just doesn't feel right here, but I digress. Moving on to actual gameplay changes, they really did Doom 3 dirty here. And you can already see this through the amount of extra ammo they added in. The ammo pickups now give you double the amount of ammo that they did in the original, and some examples being like when I got back to Mars City after the prologue, I had 600 rounds for the machine gun, which I think is even the ammo limit for the machine gun. And in the original, I only had around 200 and 300 rounds for the machine gun, and this was with going around and picking up every ammo pickup. Same thing happened with the chain gun and plasma rifle, and a couple of times actually in the Newport/BFG edition, I maxed out my plasma ammo. And that's something that never used to happen in the earlier levels in the original. And this makes the veteran and nightmare difficulty settings a lot easier than they should be because you're flush with ammo early on. How about another thing? When zombie corpses fall to the ground, they no longer stack on top of each other like actual physics. Now they all just clip through each other, making this horrible looking mess. Instead of getting just a little bit of text pop up when you save your game now, the whole fucking thing comes to a standstill, as this giant orange bar appears at the bottom of the screen to let you know the game is saving, and totally ruining any kind of immersion you might have had. Yeah, thank you. The Modern Port/BFG Edition also shares save files across each campaign, so if you're playing the base campaign, Resurrection of Evil, or the Lost Mission, well, I hope you're not 75% through any of them, because it's gonna wipe your files if you save again. You'll notice how different some of the character models look too. Swan, for instance, is now wearing Cleveland's glasses, now instead of the sunglasses he wore before. This is an odd change to make, but at least it doesn't change his base appearance too much. Sergeant Kelly, however, looks like his face got stung by a bunch of bees. His eyes and cheeks look all swollen, the color of his hair has changed, and overall it just looks like his existence is miserable. Like, look at him. What's wrong with your face, bud? What's also weird is how they didn't even bother changing his appearance on when you see him on those comm screens later in the game, because those were obviously pre-rendered, so there he still looks like the way you saw him at first. Probably the biggest and worst change yet, though, is this stupid mounted flashlight mechanic, completely removing the need to actually swap to the flashlight when you're in dark areas. And yes, this really annoys me, because it completely goes against everything that we were trying to do with the original game. When this game came out, you had loads of people complaining about this, saying that it was unrealistic, as it was set in the future, so as if they wouldn't have weapon-mounted flashlights, or, you know, something that could be mounted on the shoulder. And I get it, you see cutscenes from certain Halo titles, or watch a movie like Aliens, and all the Colonial Marines have those mounted flashlights on their armor. Yes, an actual handheld flashlight in the future seems pretty ridiculous and redundant. But the whole point of this thing was to create a sense of fear and vulnerability. When you swapped out to the flashlight, you couldn't use your weapons, and the best you could do was just whack something with the butt of the flashlight, and it was only really useful against zombies, and even then in bigger numbers it could still be dangerous. It was supposed to make the player feel more in danger. You were foregoing the safety of having your weapon in your hands and choosing to sacrifice that for the sake of greater visibility. So the idea was when a demon suddenly appeared and you were holding the flashlight, the idea is that you would have to scramble and freak out as you swapped to a weapon to take the thing out before it could attack you. It was a design choice to heighten the mood in key areas and reinforce the game's survival horror aspect, and changing it is almost like removing the zipper part on pants. Like this area right here, where you're moving through this pitch black area and this poor scientist has to hold a lantern for you. Now this has been completely ruined, Now you don't even need to follow and wait for this guy. Now you can just run off. It was a purposely added in mechanic to ground the player in reality, and remind them that despite using power-ups, having a big suit of standard power armor, using BFG's big fucking guns, rocket launchers, plasma rifles, and chain guns, you were still just a normal human. Just a living, moving pile of meat and bones that anything could take a bite at him. Speaking of zipless pants. So if you're one of those people who would complain about the flashlight and saying how dumb and stupid it was because it wasn't mounted to the barrel of your shotgun, or mounted to whatever weapon you were using, or your shoulder, well, I'm sorry to say this, but you missed the entire fucking point of why it was in the game in the first place. And this also affects the side content as well, Resurrection of Evil and the Lost Mission. Now, look, I do sort of understand how some people didn't like the handheld flashlight mechanic, and they think that the updated version in the new console and BFG Edition ports could be seen as an improvement. But the fact of the matter is that it's not how id Software intended people to play the game. I mean, porters at least could have made the handheld flashlight a toggleable option. Anyway, speaking of Resurrection of Evil, you get to play through that one as well. This was an expansion released in 2005 by Nerve Software, taking place after the events of Doom 3 where you return to Mars as some unknown/unnamed marine, this time getting your hands on a powerful demon artifact. That was just a quick recap, of course, as this ain't a review for it, of course. But I will say that this expansion makes for some more enjoyable gameplay after finishing Doom 3's base campaign. Just like with Doom 3 on console, Game Pass, and BFG Edition, there's still that issue where there's just far too much ammo available. And combined with that demon artifact that gives you slow motion, increased damage, and invulnerability, it just makes the whole thing so much easier. You've basically got your own personal Berserker power-up with 3 charges on standby the entire time. You can just run around punching or shooting everything to death in a single hit. At this point, do those people still want to say that this is survival horror? One thing that is odd is in that bit where you're moving through the waste tunnels. In the original version, your character/player put on a hazmat suit, and you also had to monitor your air supply. It was a pretty tense and challenging part of the game, limiting your visibility and enforcing a sense of urgency and tension. You had to deal with zombies and all sorts of other demons spawning in, and the sound design was pretty unique. It's a part of the expansion that really stood out, and was a really well-crafted segment that was challenging and managed to feel a lot different to anything we ever got in Doom 3. In the console/BFG edition, however, there's no hazmat suit, or air supply, or anything to worry about. You just wander throughout these shit-infested tunnels and breathing in toxic methane. Anyways, getting into the Lost Mission, not much is to be said about this expansion. It's exclusive to the console and BFG Edition, Game Pass, of course. And it's comprised of 8 levels cut from the original campaign, but even then you'll still see some rooms and environments recycled from Doom 3's base campaign. Like, one of the areas is just taken straight from the Delta Labs, except they just added in a bit of scaffolding and changed the name to Exus instead of Delta. Getting onto it though, there's no new weapons or enemies, and the final boss fight is just the Guardian from Doom 3's base campaign, except this time you just shoot the Guardian to kill it directly instead of taking out the Seekers first, which by the way is also so damn easy because the amount of ammo the game gives you. Though, look, honestly, I guess it's not all that bad. It's got a decent enough flank to it, it's challenging on Veteran and Nightmare, and there's a whole bunch of new PDAs to find, and of course a new story. But it just doesn't add anything new to the Doom 3 formula. The one thing I will say that's great, that really stands out, is that the Lost Mission has some really great looking hell environments. In fact, I always loved the way that Doom 3 and the expansions interpreted the way that hell looks. And it's definitely one of the most memorable moments Doom 3 and the expansions had to offer. The Lost Mission, though, while I like it, it just feels like a super small side gift you get someone for their birthday. This is what this expansion feels like. It just feels like it was mindlessly thrown in there to give people the idea that they're getting more bang for their buck. The BFG Edition also has no cheats like the original did, unless you're on Steam, but even then you need to enter in a Steam-related launch command before launching the game to get the dev console up and running. And this version of Doom 3 also has super limited mod support, and there's even a mod that tried to add in the handheld flashlight mechanic from the original Doom 3. I mean, at this point, just port the original version to consoles and play the original. And that's really the whole argument / topic here. How did these porters of Doom 3 screw up the port with the BFG Edition and not respect the original vision of the original Doom 3? Although, there are some positive things about this Doom 3 port on PC as well, and even on console, is the addition of an FOV slider and the option to run the game at 120Hz. And Doom 3, I can't lie, looks great at 120Hz, and the option to change the game to a widescreen resolution of your choice. This is still a good looking game when it comes to the animation, lighting, and art style. You can't fault it. Good art direction is something that never ages. But I do think all the changes they made to Doom 3 are insulting to the legacy of the game, and it's pretty much Doom 3 for babies. With more ammo, a mounted flashlight, and brighter environments. It's the I'm Too Young to Die version of Doom 3. Like I said, the porters didn't do a really great job of imitating the original version of Doom 3. And we're porting, of course, to bring the series to a new generation of a new audience. So people playing Doom 3, of course, for the first time in this generation, and these versions probably wouldn't notice or think about any of the things the porters changed or added in the first place. But that's really the huge issue here. And you're probably thinking that, like, if you're on PC, should I play the BFG / Game Pass versions of Doom 3, or go and play the original? If you're on PC and have this option, the answer is go play the original, as there are far better ways to experience Doom 3 and its expansions. Look now, you can put something together like this and slap a price tag on it as many times as a license would allow it and make it run on different platforms. But when you start changing great key aspects of these games like this, and then that's when I take issue. And the original version of Doom 3 and expansion still stand tall as the victor. And if some people were to make an entirely different port of the game with updated FPS and resolution, and even more things I mentioned previously in the video, then why couldn't they just have ported the original with updated frame rate and resolution and all those other display settings, or just make the BFG Edition a version with those display settings and keep the gameplay the same, huh? Anyway, that will be it for this video. Make sure to take care, and I don't know, go watch a movie or something. Goodbye, everyone.